Non-flowering seed plants are also called gymnosperms. What is the meaning of gymnosperms? What does it mean? What is the meaning of the word gymnosperms? Hmm? Yes, naked seeds. That means lamai samane seed එක fruit එකකින් cover වෙනවානේ. However, in non-flowering seed plants, the seed is not covered by a fruit. අයිය fruit එකක් හැදෙන්නේ නැත්තේ flower එකක් නැති හින්දා. That's why we call it naked seeds. What are examples for non-flowering seed plants, lamai? Yes, Fatima. Yes, Binuti. Yes, Saqib. Setumini, Dinugi, Batula, Seneth. What do you think? Yes, Yashini. Oneli, Tenumi. Cycas and Pinus. Those are the only two examples that we learned. Then we move to flowering plants. Flowering plants are called another name. What is that? Angiosperms. And flowering plants can be divided into two. What are they? Monocots and dicots. Monocots and dicots, yes. You put a message in the group. Okay. Monocots and dicots. Now you know the main difference between monocots and dicots are that monocots have a single cotyledon and dicots have two cotyledons in the seed, right? Other than that, apne godak differences, like when you take the flower, monocot flower is trimerous. There's only 3 petals. If you take the dicot flower, it's tetramerous or pentamerous. If you take the monocot stem, it has an uneven diameter and it is unbranched. If you take even diameter, the diameter is the same and also it's unbranched. If you take dicots, it has an uneven diameter, right? Base like a broad and the tip is thin. However, it has branches. Then in monocots there is no secondary growth, but in dicots there's a secondary growth. And then also we talked about the leaves, right? Monocots have parallel venation, dicots have reticulate venation. Then we talked about roots, right? Monocots have fibrous root system, dicots have a taproot with lateral roots. So those are the differences between flowering plants and non-flowering plants. So if we move on to our question, according to our question, the plant which is a gymnosperm is, yes, it is Pinus. Most of y'all gave the answer as Pinus. What about coconut and paddy? What about coconut, paddy, and then also grass? To which groups do they belong? Okay, Fatima. Yes, Saqib. They are all monocots. Coconut is anyways monocot, paddy is also monocot, and grass is also monocot. Okay. All right. What is the unit of the moment of force? So they are asking the unit of force. So it should be newtons. So F equals ma. Newtons meter mass is kg. Acceleration is ms minus 2, so it should be kg ms minus 2. Is that right? Is that right, Lamai? Others? Really? Is that right? මොකද උගන්වන්න අපු answers? ඒක තමයි මට අල්ලගන්න ඕන උනේ. Okay? So in the 2017 paper actually මේ දැන් සාමාන්‍ය පළවෙනි questions ටික දෙන්නේ for you all to easily get marks. But this question was marked wrong by I'm not saying by everybody, but by a certain fraction of students. Why? Because ඒගොල්ලන්ට අගල what is the unit කියලා force දැක්ක force වලට unit එක හෙව්වා. They are not asking the unit of force, no. They are asking the unit of the moment of force. Moment of force. Okay? So when they're asking the moment of force, we have to find the unit of moment. Is that right? So etakota, what is the equation for moment? Yes. Force multiplied by distance from the force to the distance from the force to the axis of rotation, right? We know force wala SI unit එක newtons and distance wala SI unit එක meters. So moment wala unit එක it's Newton meters. It's Newton meters. Now is that right? Is it clear to all of you? Okay. Next one. Next question. The organ which mainly contributes to nitrogenous excretion in the human is there's skin, there's kidney, there's nose, there's lungs. Which one is the answer? Okay, others? Others? So what are the main organs of excretion? What are the organs of excretion? Yes. So organs of excretion kiwahama. Now I got various answers. These are the organs of excretion. Monada. You know excretion karana mainly, as we know very well, it's kidney, right? Mainly excretion is done by kidney. I'm sorry. If you take kidney, in what form does excretion happen? In what form does excretion happen? Yes, in urine, as urine. So urine has urea, uric acid, salts, and water. Then our next excretory organ is skin. In what form does excretion happen in skin? Through skin. In what form? Yes, as sweat. Again, there's a bit of urea, uric acid, and there's like salts, water, all of that. Then the other excretory organ is lungs. In what form does excretion happen in lungs? exhale air. And exhale air, you know, contains carbon dioxide and water. Methanapi valuothemba, they are asking the organ which mainly contributes to nitrogenous excretion in the human. Okay. Kidney, skin, lungs, තමයි අපේ main excretory organs තුන. Nose is not an excretory organ. From these three also, kidney is the main one. Okay, kidney is the main one. අපි ඉගෙන ගත්ත how excretion happens in kidney, right? There are three stages: ultrafiltration, selective reabsorption, secretion, right? So we learned a few stages as well. The three stages, what exactly happens? ඒක story එක වගේ මතක හිටින්න ඕනේ. Okay, next one. Which of the following substances can be mixed with water to make a heterogeneous mixture? What do you think? Yes. What will happen when you dissolve copper sulfate in water? Is it a homogeneous mixture or a heterogeneous mixture? Copper sulfate plus water. Copper sulfate plus water is what kind of a mixture? Homogeneous. What kind of a homogeneous mixture is it? Considering the states, physical states of the solute and solvent, what kind of a homogeneous mixture is this?
Solid liquid?
Yes. Copper sulfate is solid and water is liquid. So it is, yes, a solid liquid homogeneous mixture. Then we also had ethyl alcohol. When ethyl alcohol is mixed in water, is it a homogeneous or heterogeneous mixture? And tell me, considering the physical state as well. Yes, homogeneous mixture, because alcohol is very soluble in water. You know, even when we consider certain alcoholic beverages, they are also very much dissolving in water. And that itself is also used as a beverage, right? Yes. Liquid. You know, ethyl alcohol is a liquid. Water is also a liquid. So it is a liquid homogeneous mixture. Aya apiratiba sugar. Sugar plus water, it's very clear. It's a, yes, homogeneous mixture. It's a solid liquid homogeneous mixture. Then wheat flour and water, you say it is a heterogeneous mixture. Considering the states, how can you write it? Considering the states, how can you write it? Yes. Solid, liquid, heterogeneous mixture. It's a heterogeneous mixture. So here, answer is wheat flour. All right. Which of the following organelles releases energy in aerobic respiration? Kian balang. What is the function of the nucleus, Nami? Your answers are correct. For this question, the answers are correct. Now I want to know what is the function of nucleus? Yes. Controls all the activities of the cell. Nucleus CPU එක වගේ. That is what controls all the activities of the cell. And yes, it inside the nucleus, all the genetic information is stored, right? The chromosomes are present inside the nucleus. So that means there's a lot of genetic information present. And also, nucleus is responsible for transferring that genetic information to the next generation. Yes. What is the function of ribosome? Protein synthesis, yes. Ribosome is responsible for making proteins. What is the function of Golgi complex? What is the function of Golgi? Quickly tell. Yes. Yes, Saqib. Others? Hmm? What are the functions of Golgi? So there are certain substances that are secreted, right, from cells. And ඒ වගේ substances produce කරන එකයි ඒවා package කරලා secrete කරන එකයි කරන්නේ Golgi, right? So Golgi is responsible for production, packaging, and then secretion of secretory substances. So our question is, which of the following organelles release energy by aerobic respiration? So it's mitochondria. Now, just to revise, when we take cellular respiration, there are two forms of cellular respiration. What are those two forms? What are the two forms of cellular respiration? Yes. Yes, Lamai, very good. Aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration means there is oxygen. So this respiration happens at the presence of oxygen. So there's plenty of oxygen, right? So when make tamai aerobic respiration reaction glucose is used. Glucose is obtained from the food that we eat, and then oxygen is obtained from the air that we breathe, and those two will react, forms carbon dioxide, which will be released with the exhale air, and it will also produce water in the form of water vapor that will also be released by exhale air. In addition to that, this will also produce energy. What happens to this energy, Lamai? What molecule is responsible for storing this energy? What is responsible for storing the energy? Quickly tell, what is responsible for storing the energy? Yes, ATP. ATP thamai me energy store karanne. What are the functions of ATP? Kiyan banda? Storage of energy. Then act as an energy source. That means it releases energy, right? Energy source with it has means it releases energy. Stores energy, releases energy, and it is also an energy carrier. Yes, it carries energy from one place to another. Lamai, give me some time. So, මං අර මගේ අනිත් ලැප් එකට ස්විච් වෙච්ච ගමන්ම camera on කරන්නම් because I also feel weird to do the class without the camera. But මේ camera එක it's not working. Okay. So, then we will talk about anaerobic respiration. You know, anaerobic respiration is what happens without oxygen, right? When there is a lack of oxygen or when oxygen is not present. So, anaerobic respiration happens in plants and yeast cells in a different way. And in animals, again in a different way. What do we call the anaerobic respiration that happens in plants and yeast cells? What do we call that? The anaerobic respiration that happens in plants and yeast cells. Okay. Others? Hamu answer karana lamai. Y'all know the answers. Y'all should know the answers actually. I MCQs karadde. I think I told you on the class that we did on Friday that when you're doing MCQ and you get stuck at a certain question, what you should do is, okay, leave the question just like that and go to that particular part of the lesson and revise that. Oglam brand new study karna nang, it is a bit too late, yes, but still, it's not impossible. Okay, එතකොට ඔගොල්ලන් හිතන දැන් මේ question එක කියලා. දැන් මම class එක කරද්දි කරන්න කොහමද? Now if you take this question, I talk about the organelles, right? Organelles and their functions I talked about. එතකොට ඔගොල්ලන්ට අග්ගලේ අදාළ තැන මොකද? Cells lesson එක. It was the 6th lesson in grade 10. So quickly go over study the organelles and their functions. Then I also talked about aerobic respiration. Then you can go to the respiration part in biological processes. That I suppose is the 6th lesson of grade 11. And you can go through that part. මුළු lessons ගණන් පාඩම් කරන්න එපා. question එකට අදාළ කොටස විතරක් දැනට පාඩම් කරගන්න. එහෙම හැම question එකක්ම කරගෙන යනකොට you will study all the relevant parts and at the end of the day you have studied quite a lot. So it will be easier for you to do the next MCQ. එහෙම තමයි අපි MCQs කරන්නේ. Okay? ඒ අලුතෙම පාඩම් කරනවා. Revise කරනවා නම් again the same. So when you're doing you let's say you have studied everything, but when you're doing, you get stuck at a particular question. That means you don't remember. So you don't remember means you have to go and revise that particular part. Okay? දැන් එතකොට මේකේ ඔයගලන් stuck වෙන තැන් වල දැන් මම questions අහදිනොත් ඔයගලන් stuck වෙනවනේ සමහර තැන් වල, right? You don't answer properly. So you know that's where your weak points are. ඒ ටික අර තමයි list එකක් හරි හදාගන්න පැත්තකින්. හදාගෙන these are the parts that I have to study කියලා එක පොඩ්ඩක් focus කරන්න. That's the whole point of doing past papers. Otherwise there's really no other point. It's not just getting all the right answers and marking the answers. එහෙම නෙවෙයි. Past papers වල main focus එක තමයි where are my lacking areas කියලා identify කරගෙන ඒ ටික බලා ගන්න එක. Okay? Just keep that in mind. It's not always getting the right answer, marking a right. It's about, okay, this answer is right. හැබැයි teacher අහන හැම ප්‍රශ්නයකටම මට උත්තර දෙන්න පුළුවන්ද? කියන එක තමයි බලන්න ඕනේ. It's okay, Sanuli. We actually started the class at මම හිතන්නේ 7:20 විතර වුණා අපි පටන් ගත්ත class එක. So you didn't miss a lot. We discussed the first 5 questions. It's not okay that you overslept, but we discussed until the 4th question. Now we're discussing the 5th question. Okay. Plants and yeast, well, yes, you are right. It is alcohol fermentation. What is the anaerobic respiration that occurs in animals called? Yes. Others? Yes. Lactic acid fermentation. Maybe reactions common. Now none of these have glucose. Sorry, none of these have oxygen, only glucose. So if you take alcohol fermentation, glucose, now there's no oxygen, so glucose only will be the reactant, will form ethyl alcohol. What else? Ethyl alcohol. Ethyl alcohol. What else? Yes, carbon dioxide. Plus, anything else? What anyway? Energy. Ethyl alcohol, carbon dioxide plus energy තමයි alcohol fermentation වල හැදෙන්නේ. right? Ethyl alcohol is produced. That's why we call it alcohol fermentation. In addition to that, carbon dioxide is produced and energy is produced. That is alcohol fermentation. What about lactic acid fermentation? Again, just glucose because oxygen is not present. What is produced here? What is produced here? Hmm? Yes, lactic acid plus. Some of you have given me full reactions. What else? Plus, yes, energy. Energy take ATP wala store karna. So energy in the form of ATP. So here lactic acid is formed. That's why we call it lactic acid fermentation. If you remember, our athlete marathon එක දුවන question එක අහන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒ වගේ similar question එකක් අහන්න පුළුවන්. I told you even when I was doing the lesson that sports people, sportsmen and sportswomen, usually I think for any sport you need to kind of have a better like a breathing skill. There is a breathing aspect, right? එතන හොඳට breathe කරන්න ඕනේ සාමාන්‍ය ඕන sport එකක. I'm talking about mainly physical sports rather than mental sports, right? එතකොට let's say marathon එකක් දුවනවා නම් if you breathe properly, plenty of oxygen will go into your system to produce energy using aerobic respiration. But if your breathing is not that good, there might be a lack of oxygen. But still you're running, so your body needs energy. Your body has no choice but to produce energy using lactic acid fermentation, where lactic acid will be formed. And that lactic acid will be stored in muscles, and that will cause muscle sprains and cramps. So we have already discussed this. So they say aerobic respiration, so it's oxygen. Up to that point, is it clear? Thumbs up, please, everybody. Okay. Which of the following oxides is basic? What is the answer you put? ඔගලන් හරි වැරදිත් මාක් කරගන්න. Okay. Sixth answer එකක් නෑනේ. What is the answer for the sixth question? Yeah. It's MgO. I think අපි මේක past paper revision එකේ කීප සැරයක් මතක් කරලා තියෙනවා. If you remember, I think it was in the third lesson, structure of matter lesson in grade 10. අපි third period එකේ මොනවාද අපිට elements තියෙන්නේ? We have sodium, we have magnesium, we have aluminium, we have silicon, then phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine and argon. Argon ලියලා වැඩක් නැහැ because argon doesn't produce oxides. Argon is a noble gas, so it won't react with anything. So මේගොල්ලන්ගේ oxides ගත්තොත් sodium ගේ oxide එක Na2O. Valence cross වෙලා sodium has 1, oxygen has 2, cross වුණාම sodium ට 2, oxygen ට 1. Magnesium ගේ MgO, aluminium ගේ Al2O3. Silicon ගේ SiO2. Now from this point onwards, valence again වැඩි හිතන්න එපා. Mostly we talk about valency in ionic compounds rather than in covalent compounds. We talk about valency in ionic compounds, right? So මෙතන හැදෙන්නේ covalent compounds, ඒකින්ද valency වැඩි ගණන් ගන්න එපා. මේක එන්නේ P2O5. Here SO3. There's SO2 as well. And here Cl2O7. Okay. Do you remember in sodium oxide, what did we say? Is it acidic or basic or what? Huh? Acidic or sodium oxide I'm talking about. Yes. It is a strong base. Again, it is strongly basic. What about magnesium oxide? Yes, it is weakly basic. What about Al2O3? It's not neutral. Neutral කිව්වොත් පොඩි වැරද්දක් තියෙනවා. Neutral කියලා කියන්නේ ළමයි. What is it, Batula?
Amphoteric?
Yes, it is amphoteric. Yes. In the chat box also, amphoteric is there. Yes, amphoteric. Amphoteric means lamai, it has acidic properties and basic properties both. දෙකම තියෙනවා. හැබැයි neutral කිව්වොත් that means acidic properties උත් නැහැ basic properties උත් නැහැ. දෙකම නැති එක්කෙනෙක් තමයි neutral කියන්නේ. මෙයා neutral නෙවෙයි. මෙයා amphoteric. එයාට acid එකක් විදිහට ඉන්නත් පුළුවන්, base එකක් විදිහට ඉන්නත් පුළුවන්. Okay? Then silicon oxide. Silicon dioxide actually. This is very weakly acidic. P2O5 is weakly acidic. SO3 is strongly acidic. And Cl2O7 is very strongly acidic. Please keep this in mind. Make a questions hammer paper good. Papers වල අහලා තියෙනවා මෙන්න මේ table එකේ. Therefore, you must keep this in mind. Huh? So, in our question, they're asking a weak baseness. So, it's definitely MgO. Anith options මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? Al2O3, SO2 and SiO2. So, Al2O3 is amphoteric, SiO2 is weakly. It has acidic properties. SO2 also has acidic properties. Let's move on to the next question. Let's move on to the next question. The animal tissue given in the diagram is, what is this tissue? Okay, yes. It is epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue gatta katti very good, but can I ask, why did you consider this as epithelial tissue? What made you think that this is epithelial tissue? What made you think that this is epithelial tissue? Okay, Ashini. Okay, Lamai, good. Yes. Ekak tamai cells are tightly packed, of course. That is a feature of epithelial tissues. Also, another important feature is that mainly අපිට identify කරගන්න ලේසිම feature එක තමයි there is a basement membrane. Right? There is a basement membrane. Epithelial tissue අනිත් tissues වලින් identify කරන්න තියෙන හොඳම feature එක තමයි basement membrane එක. Okay? So you can see that all cells lie on a basement membrane. නේද? මේ මෙතන යට තියෙන්නේ. So that is a basement membrane. ඒක දැක්ක හැටියේ you underlined epithelial tissue. As soon as you see the basement membrane, you know this is an epithelial tissue. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Which of the following energy transformations takes place in a bicycle dynamo? Kian balang. Okay. What did we learn about a bicycle dynamo? What did we learn about a bicycle dynamo? Okay. So, අපි ඉගෙන ගත්ත bicycle dynamo එක මෙන්න මෙහෙමයි කියලා. Right? Again, I need to get my textbook. I also have to download a textbook. because otherwise I have no way to show you a picture. එතක ඔයගලන් electromagnetism part එකට යන්න බලන්න පොඩ්ඩක්. ඒකේ textbook image එකට යන්න. I can't remember whether we drew a picture. There check the diagram of the bicycle dynamo. Okay. Can you all see this picture? What is the mechanism that is used here? Y'all can see the picture, no? Okay. So here what happens is that lamai, the wheel is rotating. Now we may electromagnetic induction, the electromagnetism entire lesson. So I'm not going to take too much time for this. මොකද අපි පරණේව රිවයිස් කරගන්නේ වැඩියෙන් time දාන්න ඕනේ මේව recently කරපු ඒවා නේ ඒකින්ද ලොකුට time දාන්න ඕනේ. So in the bicycle there is a wheel. So as the wheel is rotating, wheel එකට attach වෙලා තියෙනවා rough head එක. So as the wheel is rotating, the rough head will also rotate. Rough head එක rotate වෙනකොට එයාට connect කරලා තියෙනවා circular magnet එක. So the circular magnet will also rotate and there is a coil here. Here the coil is stationary. The coil is stationary. However, since the rough head is moving with the wheel, magnet එකත් ඒකට connect වෙලා move වෙනවා. So magnet is moving and the coil is stationary. So will there be an electromotive force induced? Will there be an induced electromotive force in the coil? Will there be an induced electromotive force in the coil? Quickly tell, yes or no? Okay, Viruti. What about others, Damai? Are you all listening? Are you all actively in the class or doing any other things? Ne copy me. Ye pere dane kere ne? Here the coil is magnet is rotating, but the coil is stationary. You know, coil stationary vela magnetic move unat, magnetic stationary vela coil like move unat. Dekama moving, but if there is like a relative motion, instances there will be an electromotive force induced. Electromotive force induced when will there be a current induced? Will there be a current induced? Yes. And now what is energy conversion? Here the wheel is rotating, so that is rotation kinetic energy. And we know mechanical energy has two types, as kinetic energy and potential energy. Yes. Mechanical energy there are two types, as kinetic energy and potential energy. So here this is wheel is rotating means it's kinetic energy, that means it's mechanical energy. So therefore mechanical energy is what is converted to electrical energy. Wheel එක rotate වෙන එක mechanical energy, එතන electricity එකක් generate වෙන හින්දා that is electrical energy. Okay? So the answer is yes, the third one. සමහර අය fourth එක දාලා තිබ්බා. Why the fourth one? When I was doing the lesson, I told you in a bicycle dynamo, yes, electric energy is produced. ඒ හැදෙන electric energy එක ඕනේ නම් ඔයගාට bicycle එකේ light එහෙම කියන්නේ bulbs පත්තු කරන්න ගන්න පුළුවන්. You can use that electrical energy to light up bulbs. එතනදී නම් electrical energy is converted to light energy, that is true. But bicycle dynamo එකේ හැදෙන electrical energy මොනකටද use වෙන්නේ කියන එක නෙවෙයි පෙන්වන්නේ. What is the energy transformation happening in the bicycle dynamo? So then the answer is the third one. Okay. Let me 1 second. I'm getting my laptop. 1 second. Let me ඔගලා ඔහොමම විනාඩියක් log වෙලා ඉන්න. මම මේකෙන් log out වෙලා ආයේ අනිත් එකෙන් log in වෙන්න. The record. Okay, great. Okay, can all of you see the whiteboard? Give me a thumbs up if you can see. Okay, great. Okay. The biochemical reactions that take place in organisms are catalyzed by. What is the answer for this? What is the answer for the 9th one? What is the answer for the 9th one? Then others? Yes. Remember, අපි කිව්වා enzymes are biological catalysts. So you know in the rate of reactions lesson, we learned that there are multiple things that increase the rate of a reaction. Surface area, concentration, temperature, and we also learned catalysts. Catalysts are everywhere. ඒකෙනුත් අපේ body එක ඇතුළේ ඉන්න catalysts තමයි අපි enzymes කියලා කියන්නේ. So they come and they speed up the biochemical reactions, right? So those are enzymes. Enzymes are made up of what biological molecule? What is the biological molecule that makes up enzymes? What are the biological molecules that makes up enzymes? Then we can move fast. Yeah. What is that, Biruti? What is that biological molecule? Proteins, no? Yes. So enzymes are made up of proteins. What about hormones? Are hormones made up of proteins or carbohydrates or lipids or nucleic acids or what? Hormones. Okay. Okay, Binuti, others? Fatima, what do you think? What are hormones made up of? Dinugi? Nilaka? What are hormones made up of? Lipids, yes, but not just lipids. Some hormones are made up of proteins, right? So hormones are made up of proteins and lipids. Some are proteins, some are lipids. Fatty acids, you know, fatty acids can lipids hadena jatiya. So lipids are made up of fatty acids and glycerol. Anyways, the answer is enzymes, yes. Let's move on to the next one. In which of the following instances does a couple of forces act? What is the answer to this? Okay. Okay. Yes. When a door is opened by pushing, when you open the door, Lamai, there is a rotation, but that is not couple of forces. Couple of forces can depathing opposite direction rotation like a steering wheel. When you are rotating a steering wheel, may pathim pallehata and may pathing computer them automatically right? So that is a couple of forces. There are two forces acting in opposite directions. Opposite directions unante rotation එක ඒගොල්ලෝ එක පැත්තට තමයි rotate වෙන්නේ, either anti-clockwise or clockwise. So when you are opening a door, there is no couple of forces. It's just that there is a rotation, so there is a moment, but it's not a couple of forces. Then ඒක හරියන්නේ නැහැ. When the rope is pulled in opposite directions by two groups in a competition of pulling ropes. So when pulling a rope, when two two groups are pulling a rope to the two sides, there is no rotation at all. So we can't talk about a moment there. No rotation, it's just a linear motion. Then the resultant rope so there is no moment here, no rotation. When two persons are pushing a box in the same direction, which is kept on the floor. Again, there's a box, two people are pushing it in the same direction. Again, if the resultant then forces add color, we can get the resultant. However, it is still not a rotation. So we can't talk about moment, and we obviously can't talk about a couple of forces. But when you unscrew a nail using a screwdriver, ඔයා මෙහෙම rotate කරද්දි nail එකේ දෙපැත්තම rotate වෙනවා automatically දෙපැත්තම rotate වෙනවා when you are rotating using a screwdriver. Now that is a couple of forces. When we were learning examples also, we talked about this. Nail, screwing and unscrewing a nail is an example for couple of forces. Opening a tap is an example. Opening and closing a tap is an example for couple of forces. Then rotating the steering wheel, again an example for couple of forces. Opening or closing a lid of a bottle, again a couple of forces. All right, next one. The number of electrons and the number of protons in Al3 plus ion are respectively. What is the answer? What is the answer? Others? Everybody. Okay. If you take aluminium, මේගොල්ලන් දීලා තියෙන aluminium ගේ atomic number එක 13 කියලා දුන්නේ නැත්නම් අපි දන්නවා it's 13, right? So atomic number, you know atomic number වල symbol එක capital Z. So that is 13. And you know atomic number is equal to the number of protons. Since atomic number is 13, number of protons is also 13. And you know, in an uncharged atom, charge එකක් නැති atom එකක්. දැන් මෙතන charge එකක් නැහැ, it's just Al. Protons and electrons are equal. So here, since protons are 13, electrons are also 13. So protons are positive. Since one proton is positive 1, there are 13 protons, that would be plus 13. Electrons are negative, therefore 13 electrons means minus 13. So plus 13 and minus 13 balance වුණාම කොහොමත් මෙතන charge එක 0. Charge එක 0. However, when you take Al3 plus, the situation is different. What is the number of protons here? What is the number of protons here? ළමයි, protons are inside the nucleus. Along with neutrons, protons and neutrons are inside the nucleus. So they are not exchanged or nothing happens to them during a chemical reaction or when ions are formed. It's always the electrons. So atomic number is 13 means number of protons will still be 13. So it's plus 13. However, now this is Al3 plus. That means how many electrons are here? 3 plus එකක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා කියන්නේ එයා negative 3ක් අයින් කරලා. Negative 3ක් අයින් කරපු හින්දා තමයි දැන් 3 plus වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. That means now electrons, there are only 10 electrons because it has removed 3 electrons. So electrons are negatively charged, so it's minus 10. So plus 13 minus 10 balance වුණාම charge එකන්නේ plus 3. That is why this is Al3 plus. Okay. So that's why the charge is Al3 plus. Okay. Okay. So it's Al3 plus. Okay. So protons are 13 and electrons are 10. So that is correct. They're asking number of electrons and protons respectively. So it's 10, 30. Can I ask mass number of aluminium, which is symbolized by capital A, is 27. So how many neutrons does aluminium have? How many neutrons does aluminium have? Others? Mass number can be protons plus neutrons. මේ එකකවත් protons ගාන වෙනස් වුන්නේ නැහැ නේ. So whether it's aluminium or whether it's aluminium 3 plus, protons ගාන වෙනස් වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ. Therefore neutrons ගාන වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So neutrons means you know a mass number is protons plus neutrons. Since protons are 13, neutrons has to be 14. එතකොට තමයි 27 mass number එක හැදෙන්නේ. Okay. The next question. What is the standard notation of tritium? What is the standard notation of tritium, Namai? Tritium is an isotope of hydrogen. In hydrogen, we have 3 isotopes, right? මෙයාගේ protons එකක් තියෙනවා. Hydrogen හැමෝගෙම protons එකයි. You know protons එකයි කියන්නේ atomic number එකත් එකයි. I mean atomic number has to be the same because it's the same element. Atomic number වල symbol එක තමයි Z කියන්නේ ළමයි. Don't forget that. It is atomic number. Okay. So atomic number 1. So I put 1, 1, 1. However, the number of neutrons may be different. The first one has 0 neutrons, the second one has 1 neutron, and the third one has 2 neutrons. Then what can you say about the mass number? What can you say about the mass number of this? Yes. Mass number can be protons plus neutrons. So 1 plus 0 is 1. මෙයාගේ mass number එක? දෙවෙනි කෙනාගේ mass number එක, what is it? Mass number is protons plus neutrons. Protons plus neutrons. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Then if you take the third one, what is the mass number? Protons plus neutrons. Yes. So 1 plus 2 is 3. So මේ මං A කියලා දැම්මේ mass number. ඔයගොල්ලෝ symbol එකෙන් දැම්මම සමහරවිට පටලව ගන්නවා. Z is atomic number, A is mass number. So this isotope we called it protium. This isotope we called it deuterium. And this isotope we call it tritium. So mass numbers take up and make a marker. So this is therefore is tritium. It's not just hydrogen. We learned about other isotopes as well. Up here, chlorine, there are 2 isotopes. Chlorine 1735 and chlorine 1737. We said chlorine 1735 there are 75% present in the nature. In the isotope chlorine 1737, there's about 25% present in the nature. මේ වගේ percentages දානකට අපි මොකද්ද කිව්වේ? Percentage abundance. Percentage abundance of these isotopes. Okay. What are the other isotopes that we learned? Remember carbon walat mama oganda mention kara. There is carbon 612, there is carbon 613, and there is carbon 614. So actually so many elements have isotopes. Isotopes have the same atomic number but different mass numbers. Okay. So anyways, in the question, they're asking the standard notation of tritium. Yes, therefore it's this. This is protium, this is deuterium. Hydrogen wala atomic number will never be 3. It's 1. Last one. Which of the following adaptations is shown by the seeds of horror plant for dispersal by wind? Okay, others? Others? Horror plant එකේ තියෙන මෙහෙම නේද? නිකන් මෙහෙම seed එක වගේ තියෙනවා and then like wings වගේ තමයි තියෙන්නේ. So, therefore the first one is the answer. Wings වගේ තියෙනකොට it's very easy to be dispersed by wind because යා wind එකේ මෙහෙම කැරකි වගේ තමයි disperse වෙන්නේ. Presence of hairs. Hairs ගත්තොත් එහෙම අර පොඩි fibers වගේ tiny hairs තියෙනකොට it's easy to again be dispersed by wind, like for an example cotton වගේවා. Then airfield shells ගත්තොත් එහෙම that is easy to be dispersed by water. Okay? Airfield shells තියෙනවා water lily, lotus වගේ plants වල. Then consisting of different patterns, then hooks, and also hairs to be attached to animals. That is a dispersal adaptation by animals. When there are different patterns in the seed lamai, animals are cheated. So they will be attracted. Then ඔගලන් දන්න තුත්තිරි, love grass. ඒවා වල තියෙන hooks වගේ. ඒතර ඒවෙන් අපේ ඇඳුම් වල attach වෙනවා. අපේ විතරක් නෙවෙයි animals වගේ ඇඟේ attach වෙනවා. Then some others have little hair-like structures. They help to again get attached to animals, right? Okay. Up to that point, do you have any questions or is everything clear? Thumbs up, please. Yashini, Seneth, Nilaka, Dinugi, Binuti. Okay. All right. Now that means we can move on to the rest of the paper. Now I have to get the paper again from this one. 2017. All right. Okay. 14th question. A certain covalent compound is completely ionized in water. Which of the following could be this compound? What is the answer you put? Others? Okay. First of all, we know ammonium hydroxide is a weak base. Weak, strong bases now. If it's a strong base, now completely ionized when I can completely water ions will in water. If it was a strong base. But ammonium hydroxide is a weak base, so it is only partially broken down to ions. එතකොට එයා වෙන්න බෑ ammonium hydroxide වෙන්න බෑ. And H2CO3 is a weak acid. Just like weak bases, weak acids also partially ionize in water. එයා වෙන්නත් බෑ. Copper sulfate ගැන අපි ලොකුවට එහෙම ඉගෙනගෙන නැහැ. We know copper sulfate is a salt, but other than that we don't know much, so we'll leave it. What about HCl? Now HCl is a strong acid. Both strong acids and strong bases, they completely ionize in water. එහෙනම් අපි HCl sure එකටම දන්න හින්දා the answer is directly number 2. HCl is a strong acid and it completely ionizes in water, just like a strong base. So yes, the answer is number 2. Let's move on to the next question. Let's move on to the next question. The endocrine glands that secrete glucagon and calcitonin in human body are respectively. What secretes glucagon? What is the answer? Yes, what is the answer? Yes, the answer is the first one. Let's see how. So glucagon is secreted by the pancreas. Yes. Pancreas duodenum mein there's like a little leaf-like structure, and that is a pancreas. In pancreas, where exactly is glucagon secreted? From where exactly is glucagon secreted? The pancreas. Where exactly is glucagon secreted? In the pancreas. Quickly tell me, my pancreas එක කොතනින්ද glucagon secrete වෙන්නේ? ඊයේ ක්ලාස් එකෙත් කවුත් මේකට හරියට ආන්සර් කරේ නැහැ. Have you not studied? Remember, in coordination or in homeostasis, we were talking about yes only. එක්කෙනා ඒ කියන්නේ පාඩම් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. Huh? We talked about regulation of blood glucose level. In regulation of blood glucose level, we said two hormones are involved. One is insulin, the other one is glucagon. Okay? So both insulin and glucagon are secreted by the pancreas, but where exactly? In the pancreas, there's a group of cells called islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans, there are alpha cells and beta cells. There are alpha cells and beta cells. Alpha cells secrete glucagon. Yes, that is correct. Alpha cells secrete glucagon. And beta cells secrete what? We can't waste time. Yes, Yashini? Others? What hormone does beta cells secrete? Yes, Sonali? It's right. What about others? Then මේවා මතක හිටින්න ඕනේ ළමයි. You have, I think, 40 something days, almost 40, right, for the exam. And you have term tests next week. Beta cells secrete insulin. What is the function of insulin? What is the function of insulin? What is the function of insulin? Okay. Okay, Onali. Okay, Binuti. Others? Exam mein hote what is the function of insulin කියලා? And you write converts glucose to glycogen. Yes, it is true. But ekata godak durata marks, depending on the marking scheme, we are not very sure if it will get full marks. Because insulin wala function එක glucose glycogen කරන එක නෙවෙයි, excess glucose glycogen කරන එක. So in your body, if the blood glucose level is above the normal level, right? If the blood glucose level is above the normal level, insulin will be secreted by the beta cells of islets of Langerhans in the pancreas, and that insulin will convert only the excess. That insulin will convert the excess glucose to glycogen, and that will be stored in liver or muscles or wherever, right? ඊට පස්සේ, when the blood glucose is lower than the normal value, alpha cells in the islets of Langerhans in pancreas secretes glucagon, and that will convert glycogen to glucose. That is when the blood glucose level is lower than the normal level. So yes, the answer is here pancreas anyways. Okay. What is the function of the hormone calcitonin? What is the function of the hormone calcitonin? Calcitonin. What is the function of the hormone calcitonin? Yes, Binuti? Senate? Batula? Nilaka? Sanuli? Dinugi? Tenumi? Fatima? Akib? Okay, Ashini. Calcitonin වලින් කරන්නේ it controls the calcium level in the body. To be very specific, it reduces the calcium level in the body. Calcitonin reduces the calcium level in the body. And calcitonin is secreted by the thyroid gland, yes. What are the other hormones secreted by the thyroid gland? What are the other hormones secreted by the thyroid gland? Okay. Others? What are the other hormones secreted by the thyroid gland? Yes, thyroxine. මොනවද ළමයි අපි ඉගෙන ගත්ත endocrine glands? We said that we are doing a revision now, so we have to do a discussion. We said that if you take coordination, right? If you take coordination in our body, coordination gattahama, there are two parts of coordination. What is one part? What are the two parts of coordination? Kiana bala? Coordination is the fifth part of biological processes. We learned about digestion. We learned about respiration. We learned about excretion, blood circulation, and finally, we talked about coordination. What are the two types of coordination? Yes, nervous coordination and biological processes. Yes, and chemical coordination. Nervous coordination is done by what? Nervous coordination is done by nerves. And chemical coordination is done by nervous coordination is done by the nervous system consisting of nerves. Chemical coordination is done by the endocrine system. Endocrine system consisting of hormones. What are the different hormones in our body? If you remember, endocrine glands present in our body. For an example, pituitary gland is one of the endocrine glands. What are the hormones secreted by pituitary? What are the hormones secreted by pituitary? FSH, LH, what else? Yes, Fatima. Yes, Binuti. FSH, LH. Yes, Ashini. Growth hormone. FSH, LH, growth hormone. Tama api gena tiyana, the hormone secreted by the pituitary gland. Then we also talked about the thyroid gland, and we already discussed thyroid gland again. Thyroxine and calcitonin are secreted. Then we talked about the pancreas, AK hormones. Again, we talked about insulin and glucagon. What are the other endocrine glands? What about adrenal glands? What are the enzymes secreted by the adrenal glands? What are the enzymes secreted by adrenal glands? Yes, adrenaline. Adrenaline helps us to prepare our body for an emergency. Where are adrenal glands located, Lamai? Where are the adrenal glands located? Where are the adrenal glands located? Yes. On the surface of kidneys, on top of kidneys, there are like two triangular glands. Those are the adrenal glands. Then apart from that, the other endocrine glands are ovaries and testes. Ovaries secrete estrogen and progesterone hormones, and testes secretes testosterone. Right? Okay. Let's move on to our next question. Select the option in the table which gives the most suitable extraction method for each of the elements: potassium, calcium, and lead. මේකට we need the activity series. කියන්න මම activity series එක. Where does it start? ඊයේ class එකේ නම් ඩට්ට ගාලා answers ආවා. You also have to give answers like that. මොකද දෙගොල්ලන්ටම එකම විදිය තමයි teach කරේ. Potassium, yes. Then sodium, yes. Then calcium. Okay, then magnesium. Then aluminium. ඒ තමයි පළවෙනි පහ. Then zinc. Then what comes next? Yes, iron. Then tin. And lead. That is the next four. Then there is hydrogen. Hydrogen is not a metal. It's just there for reference. Then what do we have? Copper. And after copper, mercury. Then everybody tell. Silver. Silver is Ag. Platinum. And finally, gold, Au. So this is our activity series: potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium. Those are the first five. Then zinc, iron, tin, lead. That is the next four. Then hydrogen is for reference. And then finally, copper, mercury, silver, platinum, gold. When you look at this, so when we were talking about the uses of activity series, we said that the most reactive metals are extracted by electrolysis. If you remember, api already ඉගෙන ගත්තා sodium extract කරන විදිය using electrolysis. We said we can do electrolysis of fused sodium chloride. From that we can extract pure sodium. Okay. Do you all remember the electrolysis cell of fused sodium chloride? මතකයිද? Who can confidently say that I remember the fused electrolysis, electrolysis of fused sodium chloride cell? Give me a thumbs up if you're confident. Mathematica, I can tell. None of you? My goodness. So none of you are confident. Confident nadat kamak nahi. Forget confidence. I can write the answer. Confident or not, I can write the answer. Okay. So we have two. What about others? Hmm? When are you planning to study and revise everything? I understand there are 9 subjects. Yes, of course. But that's the whole point. You have to manage the 9 subjects you have. Okay. ඒක හින්දා තමයි අපි ඉලෙක්ට්‍රෝකෙමිස්ට්‍රි ඇත්තටම grade level මුල කාර්ය කරේ. මම ඒක මුල කාලේ කරලා ඉවර කරේ මොකද ඉලෙක්ට්‍රෝකෙමිස්ට්‍රි කියන එක නිතරම රිවයිස් වෙන්න ඕන එකක්. Because electrochemistry is not that difficult but it gets confusing. ඒ කාලෙදිම මම කිව්වා you have to revise it continuously like with regular intervals ඔයා මේක revise කරොත් ආය පාඩම් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ ඒක මතකේ තියෙනවා. එහෙම කරන්නේ නැති වුණාම තමයි always you have to restudy from the beginning again. Okay. Consider an electrochemical cell made using fused sodium chloride. Fused sodium chloride can it's just sodium chloride, no water, right? Water තියෙනවා it becomes aqueous sodium chloride ne. This is fused. Fused කියන්නේ molten. කියන්නේ it's just sodium chloride. මෙයාව electrolyze කරනවා using carbon electrodes. Okay. මෙයාව electrolyze කරනවා using carbon electrodes. I want you to draw the diagram. දැන් කරන්න තියෙනවා. I want you all to draw the diagram. Write the oxidation reaction. Write the reduction reaction. Identify the anode and cathode in the diagram. Then identify the positive and negative electrodes in the diagram. And then write the observations. And finally, write an industrial application of this cell. මේව තමයි අහන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රශ්න ටික. Quickly do this. මේකට මට ඔයගන්ට දෙන්න පුළුවන් maximum 5 minutes. I will set a timer for 5 minutes. Make it really fast. Quickly do. Not more than 5 minutes. Huh? Your time starts now. Fused sodium chloride. Quickly do. Okay, did you finish? Okay, let's see. මෙහෙමද කරේ කියලා බලන්න. We have carbon electrodes, and of course this is an electrolytic cell, so we have to connect it to a dry cell. So මෙතන dry cell එකේ positive side එකට connect වෙච්ච එක නා positive electrode එක, dry cell එකේ negative වලට connect වෙච්ච එක නා negative electrode එක. This is fused sodium chloride, therefore the only ions present are Na plus and Cl minus. There is no water. So you know Cl minus is negative, so it will go to the positive electrode. Na plus is positive, so it will go to the negative electrode. So oxidation reaction කියන්නේ removing electrons. So Cl minus will come to the positive electrode. It will release an electron and become Cl. Cl තනියෙන් ඉන්නේ නැහැ. Therefore 2Cl minus will release 2 electrons and will form 2Cl. ඒ දෙන්නා Cl2 කියලා gas එක හදන. So that is oxidation, and that happens at the anode. Therefore this positive electrode is the anode. Na plus go towards the negative electrode where reduction happens. So reduction means gaining electrons. So Na plus will gain 1 electron and become Na. Okay. And that happens at the cathode. Therefore, this is the cathode. So pure sodium is produced as a liquid. All right. So let's look at the question. We drew the diagram. Oxidation reaction එක ලිව්වා, reduction ලිව්වා, anode cathode identify කරා, positive negative identify කරා. Right. What are the observations of this cell? What are the observations of this cell? What are the observations that you wrote? Blue color of the solution gradually disappears. Is there a blue color in this solution? Is there a blue color? ළමයි blue color solution එකක් එන්නේ only if there is copper sulfate. Copper sulfate තියෙනවා නම් yes, copper sulfate is blue color. But sodium chloride is not a blue color solution. So blue color කියන එක හැම එකටම දාන්න බෑ. Only for copper sulfate. Yes, chlorine gas is produced at the anode. Therefore, we can say gas bubbles evolve at the anode or near the anode. Then pure sodium is produced at the cathode. However, we cannot see that. Observations can appear sensory organs වලට අහු වෙනවා විතරයි. So the only observation you can take here is that gas bubbles evolve at the anode. What is the industrial application of this cell? What is the industrial application of this cell? මේ වගේ cell එකක් industrially අපි use කරනවා, yes, to produce the sodium metal. What is that cell called? The industrial application, what is it called? Down cell. Industrial application කියන්නේ දැන් මෙතනත් pure sodium හැදෙනවා, but pure sodium industrially හදන්න පුළුවන්. What is their application? The application is a down cell. The same concept is used, but the structure is modified, right? Okay, I have a homework for y'all. Make a other davasa. Within today, you have to do this homework and send me photos within today. If you don't send it within today, don't come to the class next week. Okay. කොහරි ලියා ගන්න. Excuse me. One second. ඔගලන් ලියන්න ඕනේ electrochemical cell. Electrolysis නෙවෙයි, electrochemical cell between zinc and Fe electrodes. එතකොට අර normal ටිකම තමයි ලියන්න තියෙන්නේ. You have to write the oxidation reaction, reduction reaction. අර මෙන්න මේ ටිකම වගේම තමයි. You have to draw, write the oxidation reaction, reduction reaction, identify the anode, cathode, identify the positive electrode, identify the negative electrode, and write any observations, right? Observations මොනවාද? ඒ ටික තමයි ලියන්න තියෙන්නේ. And also electrochemical cell between Fe and copper electrodes. So may electrochemical cells දෙක. Then electrolysis wala electrolysis of fused sodium chloride, which is what we did today. Ekatat again electrolysis wala draw oxidation reaction, reduction reaction, identify the anode and the cathode, identify positive and negative electrodes, observations and industrial applications තියනවා නම් ඒකත් දාන්න. For electrolysis. Electrochemical cell වල industrial applications ඕනේ නැහැ. Electrolysis wala, if there are industrial applications, you have to include those. Then electrolysis of aqueous sodium chloride. Then electrolysis of acidulated water. Then electrolysis of aqueous copper sulfate. And also electroplating වලටත් මේ විදිහටම දාන්න, where we plate an iron spoon with copper. මෙන්න මේ ටික you have to send me within today. Let me also send this to the group. Electrochemistry homework, send within today. Okay? Is that clear to all of you? Give me a thumbs up if it's clear. Okay. So let's go back to our question. So electrolysis වලින් තමයි the most reactive elements අපි metals extract කරන්නේ electrolysis වලින්. මැද කට්ටිය extract කරන්නේ අපි reduction වලින්. Remember, we extracted iron from hematite using a blast furnace. That is a reduction method. Then lower reactive kati api extract karane physical methods wale. Copper extract karane hai reduction wale. Copper is also extracted by reduction, but the rest of it is extracted by physical methods. So accordingly, in the question, potassium and calcium, they are both very reactive. So they come electrolysis. But lead is moderately reactive, a reduction. So fourth one is the answer. Okay, let's move on to the next one. On a horizontal ground, the point B is located to the east of A. Point B is, look, A to east, you can find point B. Okay. Point C is located to the north of B. Point C is located to the north of B. An ant has moved from A to C through the straight lines AB and BC. A nam B ta gihilla 3 meters, B nam C ta gihilla 4 meters. Ehang ahanne apen what is the displacement of the ant? You know, displacement is the shortest distance between 2 points. So if I ask you the distance that the ant has moved, I'm sorry. So distance is here 3 meters, here 4 meters, altogether 7 meters. But displacement is the shortest distance. Enang. Here, what is the displacement? It is, what is it? What is the displacement? Hmm? 5 meters. Make Ogan Pythagoras. I mean, this is a right angle triangle, so you can do Pythagoras theorem and find it. But Pythagoras own it now. Ogalang already Pythagorean triples done one. Can basic tick done on. So 3, 4, 5 are the basic one of the basic Pythagorean triples. Pythagorean triples matakaini maths wala kare. ඊට පස්සේ like 6, 8, 10. ඒ වගේ Pythagorean triples අපි ඉගෙන ගත්තා. So 3, 5 sorry 3, 4, 5 is one of the basic Pythagorean triples. So කෙලින්ම 5 කියලා ගන්නත් පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් ගන්න Pythagoras theorem දාලා you can get 5 meters. So yes, the answer is 5 meters. A situation where an image of a flower pot taken onto a white vertical plane using an item called X is shown in the figure. Which of the following could be X? කියන බලන්න ඔයගලන්ගේ answers. What are the answers you got? What are the answers you got for this? Okay. Others? Kwanitha, मैं करे ना paper का? You're not very responsive today. So I have in the chat box, I have the third dance and I have the fourth dance. Okay. What did we learn here? We talked about mirrors. In mirrors, api kata kara, there are concave mirrors. Concave mirrors that look like this. If this is a principal axis and this is the mirror, concave mirror කියන්නේ මෙන්න මෙහෙම තියෙන. So in front of the mirror, you can find the focal point and the center of curvature. Then we learned about convex mirrors. මම ඔක්කොම ray diagrams නම් අඳින්නේ නැහැ ළමයි. But මම ගන්න එදා කිව්වගේ light බලාගෙන I feel like ray diagrams මොන හරි light related ලොකු question එකක් අහයි කියලා හිතනවා. So convex mirror එකක් තියෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ වගේ. Convex ඇතුළට curve වෙලා like this. So here the focal point and the center of curvature is behind the mirror, no? So in concave mirrors, we learned about how many ray diagrams? මම අපි පහක්ද කොයිද ඉගෙන ගත්තා නේද? We learned when the object is යන්න බලන්න ඔයගලගේ writing book එකට මේක කරපු තැනක or the textbook or wherever. First ray diagram we obtain when the object is between the mirror and the focal point. Mirror and the focal point. නේද? First ray diagram එක අපි ඉගෙන ගත්තේ when the object is between the mirror and the focal point. What are the properties of the image here? කියන්න බලන්න properties of the image. ઠග්ගා කියන්නේ. මේක ඔයාලට මතකයි නම් මතකෙන් කියන්න. If not, quickly go to that section where we drew the ray diagrams, or you can refer to the textbook and tell me. What are the properties of the image? I'm waiting for you all to answer. ඔයගොල්ලන් answer කරන්න ගොඩක් වෙලා ගත්තොත් අපිට ගොඩක් වෙලා යනවා. ඊයේ class එක නවත්තපු තැනින්ම අද class එකත් නවත්තන්න ඕනේ. So we have to discuss until the 31st question. Okay, magnified image එකක්ලු හැදෙන්නේ. Is it a real or a virtual image? Okay. Others? Seneth, can you check and tell me? Nilaka, Dinugi, Tenumi, can you check where we wrote or even note එක නැත්නම් textbook එක හරි බලලා මට කියන්න. Real or virtual? It is a virtual image. Virtual කියන්නේ ළමයි object එක තියෙන පැත්තෙම තමයි image එකක් හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ. Right? So when you place the object here between the mirror and the focal point, මෙහෙම parallel යන light ray එක focal point එක through reflect වෙනවා. Then center of curvature through යන light ray එක ඒ path එකේම reflect වෙනවා. එතකොට මේ reflected light rays දෙක මෙහෙම හම්බ වෙනවා. So object is so the image is formed behind the mirror. And that is a virtual image. It is magnified and it is upright. Okay? Virtual, magnified and upright. Virtual, magnified and upright. Okay? One second. So virtual, magnified and upright. Then අපි තව ray diagram එකක් ඉගෙන ගත්තා මෙහෙම. The object is on the focal point. Where is the image formed? Where is the image formed? When the object is on the focal point, where is the image formed? At infinity. And we also discussed the properties that image may have. What are the properties of that image? We said it is a real image. We said it is an inverted image and it's a magnified image. Yes. That is when the object is on the focal point. May discussion eකට actively ඔයගොල්ලන් participate කරොත් it's good for you, right? Then ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ තියෙන මතක refresh වෙනවා. ඔයගොල්ලන් පොතක් බලන් කියනවා නම් again ඔයාගේ memory එකට ඒක add වෙනවා. Okay? So little things that they play a big role when it comes to memory. Now, that's the whole point of doing a revision. නේ අපි revise කරන්න revision එකක් කරන්නේ. Then the object is between the focal point and the center of curvature. Now tell me about the image. When the object is between the focal point and center of curvature, now tell me about the image. Yes, it is formed beyond C, okay? It is real, okay? Inverted, yes. And size? Yes. It is magnified. That means we have parallel light ray එකක් යවුවාම එයා focal point එක through reflect වෙනවා. or center of curvature through light ray එකක් යවුවොත් මේක දැන් ලොකු දිගට එනවා. එයා center of curvature through ම reflect වෙනවා. So මේ දෙන meet වෙන තැන මෙතන, and here this is where the image is formed. So you can see it is a magnified image. Object එක පැත්තෙම image එක හැදිච්ච වින්ද we can get the image onto a white screen. So it's a real image and it is an inverted image. Yes. So the object is real, inverted and magnified. Now let's consider the next instance. Now the object is on the center of curvature. Now tell me, where is the image formed? Object is on the center of curvature. Where is the image formed? Object is on the center of curvature. Image will also be on the center of curvature. What are the properties? Real or virtual, inverted or upright, magnified or diminished? Real, yes. Real කියන්නේ object එක තියෙන පැත්තෙම image එක හැදෙනවා. So you have to use a white color screen, not a mirror එකෙන් පේන්නේ. Inverted, yes. And size, same size. Parallel යන එක්කෙනා focal point එක through reflect වෙනවා. Center of curvature through යන එක්කෙනා ගන්න බෑ because the object is on center of curvature. එහෙනම් අපි ගන්නවා focal point එක through යන එක්කෙනා parallelly reflect වෙනවා. So එදෙන meet වෙන්නේ මෙතන. So this is where the image is formed. Image is real, inverted, and the same size. So we will write that. Image is real, inverted, and same size. And it is produced on C. Lastly, our ray diagram is object is beyond C. Then object එක තියෙන්නේ C ටත් එහායි. Like this. What can you say about the image? Where is the image formed? Where is the image formed? ඔගලන් කියන්න එතක මම ඊට ටික ෆිල් කරන්නම්. Where is the image formed? Yes, the image is formed between F and C. So when the object is beyond C, the image is formed where? Between F and C. Image is between F and C. Can image එක හැදෙන්නේ F and C මැද. So you have already given the properties. We'll see. Parallel යන light ray එක focal point එක through reflect වෙනවා. Center of curvature through යන කෙනා center of curvature through යන කෙනා A path එකෙම reflect වෙනවා. So this is where they meet and this is where the image is formed. So it is real, it is inverted, but it is smaller than the object. So we call it diminished. Okay. So object is beyond C now. Image is between F and C. It is a real image, it is an inverted image, and it is a diminished image. Up to that point, is everything clear? Give me a thumbs up. Quickly. Right. Let's look at convex mirror. How many ray diagrams did we learn in convex mirror? Only one ray diagram. Be in front of the mirror object එකක් තිබ්බහම මොකද වෙන්නේ? මෙහෙම light parallel light ray එකක් යනවා focal point එක through වෙන්න බෑ මොකද focal point is behind the mirror නේ. This is a mirror, this does reflection. So focal point එකෙන් reflect වෙනවා වගේ මෙහෙම reflect වෙනවා. Then center of curvature through යන කෙනා center of curvature through ඇත්තටම යන්න බෑ. Center of curvature through යනවා වගේ ඇවිල්ලා ඒ path එකෙම reflect වෙනවා. So they meet behind the mirror like this. Right? So what are the properties? Image formed behind the mirror. Therefore, it is a virtual image. It is an upright image and it is a diminished image. Is that clear about convex mirrors? Is it clear, Lamai? Everybody? Okay. What about lenses? What are the two types of lenses that we have learned? We have learned about concave lenses and convex lenses. I hope you're listening. Huh? concave lenses and convex lenses. So if you take concave lenses, let's say this is the principal axis. Concave lenses, this is the lens. If you take convex lenses are like this. How many ray diagrams did we learn in concave lenses? How many ray diagrams did we learn in concave lenses? Others? How many ray diagrams did we learn in concave lenses? Vinuti, yes. What about others? Concave lenses වල ගොඩාක් ඉගෙන ගත්තද? කියන්න ළමයි. We just learned one ray diagram, no? එතකොට අපිට අත්‍තරම focal point, center of curvature, focal point and twice the focal point වැඩක්ම නැහැ in concave lenses. Because we only learned one ray diagram. Let's say the object is like this. One ray goes parallel and then refracts through the center of curvature. Through the focal point refract when a back. Why? Because it is a concave lens. In a focal point, it can refract when a vage එළිය පැත්තට refract වෙනවා like this. Then optical center එක through යන light ray එක ඒ path එකේම refract වෙනවා. So where these two light rays meet is here, and this is where the image is formed. So image is formed on the same side as the object. Lens as well, if the image is formed on the same side as the object, we can see the image through the lens. Therefore, it is a virtual image. Then it is an upright image, and it's also smaller than the object, so it is a diminished image. Is this clear to all of you? Thumbs up, please. Okay. Convex lenses, we learned about how many ray diagrams? 5, no? We learned 5 ray diagrams. One is object is between the lens and focal point. So when the object is between the lens and the focal point, what are the properties of the image? Parallel and a light ray focal point through reflect වෙනවා. Then center of curvature through and a light ray center of curvature optical center. Optical center through and a light ray a path එකේම යනවා. Okay, so I mean they are supposed to meet somewhere here. So you know what you get is a virtual image. One second. This goes through the focal point and optical center through your light ray. So at the front of the lens, they don't meet because they go away from each other. Then what you do is you extend the ray backwards. You extend the ray backwards and you can see that they meet here. So object is found on the same side as the image. Image is found on the same side as the object. So is it real or virtual? Real or virtual? Quickly tell. Virtual image. And you can see it is upright and it is larger than the object, so it is magnified. Then secondly, we learned the ray diagram where the object is on the focal point. Okay, let me erase this. What will happen when the object is on the focal point? What will happen when the object is on the focal point? Where will the image be formed? Yes. මෙතන ළමයි parallel light rays දෙකක් හැදෙන්නේ. So image is formed at infinity. Image formed at infinity. And infinity wala had an image topic in or real, inverted, and magnified. Okay. Then the next ray diagram is when the object is between f and f dash. Right? F dash can it twice the focal length, huh? I hope you're following through. Object is between f and f dash. Where will the image be formed? Parallel යන light ray එක focal point එක through reflect වෙනවා. Optical center එක through යන light ray එක ඒ path එකේම යනවා. So the image is formed. Sorry, the image is not supposed to form like this. මම measure කළා නෙවෙයි නේද? That's why I'm getting this wrong. They're supposed to meet like this. So where is the image formed? Beyond f dash on the other side. Right? Beyond f dash on the other side. And what are the properties of the image? Real. What else? Inverted. Yes. And what else? Magnified or diminished? Magnified. It's larger than the object. So it's magnified. Then the next ray diagram that we learned was when the object is on f dash. That is twice the focal length, right? Then මොකද වෙන්නේ? So object is on f dash. Where will the image be formed? Where will the image be formed? කියන්න ළමයි. Others? Image will also be formed on f dash on the other side. That means twice the focal length on the other side. Okay. So image is formed on f dash. That is twice the focal length. Is it a real or a virtual image? And is it inverted or upright? Is it magnified or diminished? Yes, it is a real image. It is an inverted image and it is the same size as the object. Finally, the last ray diagram is the object is beyond f dash, right? Then object එක ඉන්නේ f dash ට එහා. So when you draw the ray diagram, parallel යන light ray එක focal point එක through reflect වෙනවා. Then optical center එක through යන light ray එක ඒ path එකේම යනවා. So we can see the two rays meet here between f and f dash. Okay. So in the fourth ray diagram, when the object is beyond twice the focal length, which is f dash, what are the properties of the image? Image is formed between f and f dash. It is a real, inverted, and diminished image. It's smaller than the object. Up to that point, is it clear? Give me a thumbs up, please, if it's clear. Okay, Akib, Nilaka, Oneli, Senet, Tenumi. Senet, Tenumi. Okay, so let's go to our question. දැන් ඊට කලින් චුට්ටක් බලන්න ළමයි. Mirrors and lenses, of course, they work differently. Mirrors වල තියෙන reflection, lenses වල තියෙන refraction. However, concave mirrors උයි convex lenses උයි ටිකක් එක විදියට behave කරන්නේ. I mean, the ray diagrams are different, but how the images are formed, the properties of the images are the same. Metan virtual magnified upright, metanat virtual magnified upright. Real inverted magnified, real inverted magnified. Real inverted magnified, real inverted magnified. Real inverted same size, here also real inverted same size. Real inverted diminished, here also real inverted diminished. Concave mirrors and convex lenses, they behave differently. May reflection, refraction, have a properties of the image dennagema ekama eka. Image ke properties vitarak dennagema ekai. That is why we say concave mirrors and convex lenses are somewhat similar. Then on the other hand, convex mirrors and concave lenses. Again, the concept is different because mirror reflection, lenses refraction. However, balanne properties virtual upright diminished, mayat virtual upright diminished. Properties of the image only convex mirrors and concave lenses same. So concave mirrors and convex lenses behave similarly, and convex mirrors and concave lenses behave similarly. Let's go to our question. This definitely cannot be a plane mirror. Plane mirror එකක් වෙන්න බෑ කොහොමත්ම, because plane mirror එකක මෙහෙම images හදෙන්නේ නැහැ. So if you look at this diagram, මේ තියෙන object එක. So there is X, some item X. This could be a lens, this could be a mirror, anything. Then there is a white frame, white like a screen. මේ white color screen එකට තමයි image එක වැටිලා තියෙන්නේ. So in this particular instance, is the image real or virtual? In this particular instance, is the image real or virtual? If we were able to obtain the image onto a screen, that means definitely this image is real. Size එක ගැන අපිට හරියටම කියන්න sure නැහැ. මොකද size එක හරියටම බලන්න එපා. But what about whether the image is upright or inverted? In this particular instance, is the image upright or inverted? Inverted. Inverted means object එක මෙහෙම image එක upside down. So it's inverted. So a plane mirror will never give a real image. It always gives a virtual image. So plane mirror වෙන්න බෑ. Let's look at a convex mirror. අපි දැන් diagrams ගන්න convex mirror. This is a convex mirror. Convex mirror එකක දෙන්නේ virtual upright images. A convex mirror gives virtual upright images. This is not virtual upright. This is real and inverted. It cannot be a convex mirror. Let's look at a concave lens. Concave lens. Concave lens එකක දෙන්නේ virtual upright images in a concave lens. So අපේ එක cannot be a concave lens either, because අපේ එකේ තියෙන real inverted. Concave lens gives virtual upright. Concave lens එකකුත් වෙන්න බෑ. This has to be a convex lens. If you talk about convex lenses, real and inverted images හැදෙනවා when the මේක ගන්න බෑ because image is formed at infinity. ඒතර යාව ගන්න බෑනේ. But this could be this is possible. Real and inverted images හැදෙනවා. So the object could have been between f and f dash. Or this is also possible. The object could have been on f dash. So එතකොට එතනත් real inverted images හැදෙනවා. This is also possible. Object is beyond twice the focal length because එතනත් real inverted images හැදෙනවා. So we are only considering real and inverted because we are not sure about the size. Is that clear to all of you? Thumbs up, please. If it's not clear, let me know. All right. Next question. Which of the following statements is true regarding waves? Let's see. So when we take, Mama, give me 1 second. Huh? Oh, Mama, give me 1 second. Okay, Lama. So, mechanical waves. Under mechanical waves, we learn 2 types of waves. What are they? Under mechanical waves, we learn 2 types of waves. What are they? Hmm? Can you all hear me, Namai? Thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, yes. Under mechanical waves, we learn 2 types of waves. What are they? Transverse and longitudinal. If you take waves in general, there are 2 types of waves, no? Waves gatut, there are mechanical waves and there's another type of waves. What is that? Yes, electromagnetic waves. So waves, well, there are 2 types of waves and as mechanical waves and electromagnetic waves. Then under mechanical waves, we have 2 types as transverse and longitudinal. On the electromagnetic waves, we have different types like microwaves, radio waves, infrared waves, visible rays, ultraviolet rays, X-rays, gamma rays, all of that is there. Let's read the statements. Answers okay. Transverse waves propagate through compressions and rarefactions. Now, Lamai, if you take transverse waves yanne mehem. Right? Particles mehem move whenever. එතකොට wave එක ඉස්සරහට යනවා. Particles move like this and the wave is moving forward. Okay? Remember, particles don't move with the wave. Wave එක ඉස්සරහට යනවා, but particles මෙම උඩයට move වෙනවා. So transverse wave එක අපි කතා කරේ crest උඩටම යන තැන crest යටටම යන එක trough. Crest and trough. In longitudinal waves, particles move like this. Wave එක ඉස්සරහට යනවා, particles are moving like this. එතන ලං වෙන තැන්වල we call compressions, ඈත් වෙන තැන්වල we call rarefactions. So transverse waves propagate with compressions and rarefactions මම වැරදි. Actually longitudinal waves තමයි they propagate only using compressions and rarefactions like this. Compressions and rarefactions මෙහෙම particles move වෙනවා. එතකොට wave එක ඉස්සරහට යනවා. Particles ඉස්සරහට මෙහෙම යන්නේ නෑ. Particles just move like this. Wave එක තමයි ඉස්සරහට යන්නේ. Distance between a crest and a trough of a transverse wave is equal to the wavelength of that wave. Let's see. Transverse wave. And I'm going to draw a transverse wave. Roughly. Like this. So these points are called crests, right? This is a crest. This is a crest. And this is also a crest. Lower points are called troughs. This is a trough. This is a trough. And this is also a trough, right? They're saying distance between a crest and a trough. Let's see. This is a crest. Distance between a crest and a trough, is it equal to the wavelength? Is this true? Distance between a crest and a trough, is it equal to the wavelength? No. Absolutely not. Length. I hope you can see. Is this equal to a wavelength? Yes. What about this? I'm going to mark the distance between two crests. Crests, the distance mark. Is this equal to a wave? Like equal to one wavelength? Okay, others, give me a thumbs up if it is. If it's not, cross is this equal to one wave? Is this equal to one wavelength? Yes, it is. Ekama motion එක යන particles දෙකක් අතර distance එක තමයි wavelength කියලා අපි කිව්වේ. What about the distance between two troughs? What about the distance between two troughs? Yes. However, in the question, they are saying distance between a crest and a trough. Crest and a trough, now it is not equal to one wave. It is actually half a wave, not one wave. Therefore, the second sentence is also wrong. Third one. It is not necessary to have a medium for the propagation of mechanical waves. Now, you know waves are divided into two as mechanical waves and electromagnetic waves. What is the main difference between mechanical waves and electromagnetic waves? What is the main difference between mechanical waves and electromagnetic waves? Mechanical waves must need a medium to propagate, either a solid or a liquid or a gas. Solid hari, liquid hari, gas hari, medium ekak tiyenna ඕනේ for mechanical waves to propagate. However, for electromagnetic waves, එහෙම ඕනේ නැහැ. Medium එකක් තිබ්බත් එයා propagate වෙනවා, medium එකක් නැතත් එයා propagate වෙනවා. So question is, it is not necessary to have a medium for the propagation of mechanical waves. That is wrong. It is necessary. Mechanical waves වලට අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම medium එකක් තියෙනවා. So not necessary කියපු එක වැරදි. Finally, energy is transmitted by the mechanical waves without the transmission of substance. That is true. Why? මං කියවනේ wave එකක් යනකොට wave එක ඉස්සරහට යනවා. Energy ඉස්සරහට යනවා. But particles ඉස්සරහට යන්නේ නැහැ. If you take a water, like a still water, like a still surface of water, rubber ball එකක් නිකන් plastic ball එකක් තියලා pebble එකක් දාලා water wave එකක් create කරනවා. එතකොට හුළඟේම නැත්තම් without wind එතකොට what happens to that plastic ball? The plastic ball will move up and down. එයා මෙහෙම wave එකත් එක්ක ඉස්සරහට යන්නේ නැහැ. Okay. So under mechanical waves, if you take transverse waves, particles move up and down, the wave will go forward, energy will also go forward. Particles just move up and down. If you take a longitudinal wave, particles will move side by side. Energy, wave ඉස්සරහට යනවා, energy ඉස්සරහට යනවා, but the particles will just move back and forth around the same position. Therefore, fourth statement is correct. Up to that point, is it clear? Give me a thumbs up if it's clear up to that point. Others? Others? Okay. Let's move on to the 20th question. Okay. The salts which precipitate in the first tank and the third tank in the production process of salt from seawater. I think when we were doing the revision, අපි මේ extraction of salt from seawater කතන්දරේ, we talked about it, right? We revised it. But we'll just talk about it a bit again. අපි කොහෙන්ද කරන්නේ? Let's discuss here. What are the main separating techniques in when extracting salt from seawater? What are the main separating techniques? What are the main separating methods? Evaporation, yes, and crystallization. Evaporation and crystallization are the main separating methods. Good. So there are three tanks. No, there's a large, shallow tank. There's a medium tank. And there is a small tank. So this is the large tank. Then the medium tank. And the small tank. So the sunlight is continuously there. Ne? Sunlight තියෙනවා. Daytime එකේ sunlight තියෙනවා. And you know, if it's the high tide එක නම් tidal currents එක්කම the seawater will flow to the large tank. But if it's during the low tide, අපි pump කරන්න ඕනේ seawater to the large tank. So because of the sunlight, the water will evaporate. When the water evaporates, what happens to the concentration of salts in seawater? Will it increase or decrease? Huh? Increase. Because you know concentration equals number of moles over volume. Water එක evaporate වෙනවා කියන්නේ volume එක අඩු වෙනවා. Volume එක අඩු වෙනවා කියන්නේ concentration වැඩි වෙනවා. So in the large tank, water will continuously evaporate and the concentration of salts will continuously increase because of that. When the concentration is twice the initial concentration, which salt will precipitate? Which salt will precipitate? When the concentration is twice initial concentration. Okay, Binuti, others? Yashini, Fatima, Tenumi, Batula, Nilaka. What is precipitating here? What is crystallizing here? When the concentration is twice the initial concentration. Calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate. Then the remaining water will be sent to the medium tank. Again, the evaporation will continuously happen. That means concentration in the variable. When the concentration is 4 times the initial concentration, what gets precipitated? What gets crystallized? When the concentration is 4 times the initial concentration. Others? 4 times the initial concentration, what happens? What is precipitated? You all said it's calcium sulfate. Yes. It is calcium sulfate. Then the remaining water we send to the next tank, which is a small tank. Evaporation will continuously happen and therefore concentration will continuously increase. When the concentration is 10 times the initial concentration, what is precipitated? Yes. NaCl is precipitated. NaCl precipitate when patangarang, before it finishes precipitating, another 2 salts start to precipitate or crystallize. What are they? NaCl tamai patan ganne. And then while NaCl is crystallizing, 2 other salts crystallize. What happened? Okay. Something happened, no? I hope you can see the board now. So yes, while NaCl is precipitating, MgCl2 kina salt එක precipitate වෙනවා and MgSO4 kina salt එක precipitate වෙනවා. And these will precipitate along with NaCl. So whatever the crystals formed here will be NaCl, MgCl2 and MgSO4. We take all those crystallize and we put them into piles like this. Then what happens? We keep these piles for about 6 months. What happens to MgCl2 and MgSO4 when they are in piles? They will absorb the moisture in the atmosphere. Atmosphere ke water vapor thiyena, the moisture. So MgCl2 and MgSO4 will absorb this moisture and will dissolve and form kind of like a puddle around the piles. It will dissolve වෙවි යනවා. හැබැයි NaCl may moisture absorb කරන්නේ නැහැ. Why? Is NaCl hygroscopic or not hygroscopic? That is a term they might ask in MCQs. Is NaCl hygroscopic or not hygroscopic? Not hygroscopic. Yes. Hygroscopic නෙවෙයි, not hygroscopic. Since NaCl is not hygroscopic, it will not absorb the moisture in the atmosphere. Prismatic pile එකේ හැමම ඉන්නවා. MgCl2 and MgSO4, they will absorb the moisture and dissolve away. Okay? And then NaCl තමයි අරගෙන we further purify to get common salt. All right? So, this is what happens when we extract salt from seawater. Then around Sri Lanka, it's all sea, no? It's all the ocean. Can we have a salt turn everywhere? Or are there specific requirements for the location with the salt turn? What are the requirements? Yes. What are those requirements? for building a salt urn, what are the requirements? It has to be a flat land. Slope එකක් තියෙන බෑ, flat land එකක් වෙන්න ඕනේ. There has to be sunlight, wind, dry and hot climate throughout the year, minimum rainfall, clay soil for minimum percolation of water. ඒ ඔක්කොම තියෙන්න ඕනේ salt urn එකක් බලද්දි, right? All that environmental and geographical factors should be there. So here they are asking the salts which precipitate in the first and third tank. First tank එකේ precipitate වෙන්නේ calcium carbonate, third tank එකේ sodium chloride. That is the most correct answer. Yeah. 21st question එක round කරලා තියාගන්න. That's biosphere. We'll discuss that. ඒකේ third එක තමයි answer එක කියලා underline කරලා leave it like that. What happens to the what is the answer for the next question? What is the answer for the next question? What is the answer you put? අපි මේ ටික discuss කරලා නවත්තමු. මේ එතන දෙකක් හරි, we'll see. I also have another class, that's why. Okay, others? Wait, lamai. May 21st ke most efficient food chain. That is not the third one. That is the first one. First egg, okay. Ek underline karati agana, we will discuss that. Answer the first one, underline, we will discuss it later. Okay, yes, we were in 22nd. What is the answer? The composition of a glucose solution in terms of mass and volume is 90 grams per cubic decimeter. What is the concentration? So we want the concentration is more in moles per cubic decimeter. So composition is 90 grams per cubic decimeter. කියන්නේ හරියට නිකන් කොහෙද අපි discuss කරන්නේ මේ පැත්තේ. It's as if you take 1 cubic decimeter of solution, there is 90 grams of glucose වගේ නේද? When we say the composition of glucose is 90 grams per cubic decimeter, that means එක cubic decimeter එක 90 grams තියෙනවා. But අපිට ඕනේ moles වලින්. They have given the relative molecular mass of glucose as 180. If the relative molecular mass of glucose is 180, what is the molar mass? What is the molar mass? Relative molecular mass එකටම අපි unit එක දානවා grams per mole කියලා. If it's an element, relative atomic mass එකට grams per mole කියන unit එක දැම්මම you get the molar mass. If it's a molecule or a compound, relative molecular mass එකට හරි relative formula mass එකට හරි grams per mole unit එක දැම්මම you get the molar mass. So here it's glucose to the relative molecular mass, which is 180. I put the unit grams per mole. I got the molar mass. Then I'm going to try and find the number of moles. You know, to find the number of moles, we need M over M. N equals M over M. The mass here is 90 grams. Molar mass we got as 180 grams per mole. So when we divide, 90 times 1 is 90, 90 times 2 is 180. So answer is 0.5 moles. That means here, when we say there's 90 grams of glucose, how many moles are there? 0.5 moles. And then what we do, we have to find the concentration. So concentration equation is C equals N over V. Now the number of moles is 0.5 moles. Volume is 1 cubic decimeter. So 0.5 divided by 1 is 0.5. So answer is 0.5 moles per cubic decimeter. Is that clear? Give me a thumbs up if it's clear, Lamai. Others? Okay. That is how we get the answer number 2. Answer is 0.5 moles per cubic decimeter. 180 grams per mole ආවේ මෙතන තියෙන ඕන relative molecular mass of glucose is 180 කියලා. So any compound you can take the relative molecular mass. Now here it's 180. ඒකට grams per mole කියන unit එක දැම්මම you get the molar mass. Okay. Otherwise නිකන් ඔයාලට පුළුවන් ඒගොල්ලන් relative atomic masses ටික දෙනවා. Carbon is 12, hydrogen is 1, oxygen is 16 කියලා දුන්නාම ඔයාලට මේ ටික add කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. So if it's glucose it's C6H12O6. So carbon is 12. ඒ වගේ තොර carbon 6ක් තියෙනවා. Hydrogen is 1. There are 12 hydrogens. Oxygen is 16. There are 6 oxygens. C6H12O6. So add කරාම you get 180. ඒතර ඒකට grams per mole unit එක දැම්මම you get the molar mass. Okay? All right. මේකත් අපි discuss කරමු ටක් ගාලා. Which of the following is not a function of nucleic acids? What about the first one? Storing genetic information of organisms. Which nucleic acid is responsible for that? Is it DNA or RNA? We have learned 2 nucleic acids. DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. RNA is ribonucleic acid. So, yes, DNA is responsible for storing genetic information of organisms. Yes. RNA is responsible for storing the genetic information of viruses. Viruses අපි organisms කියලා classify කරන්නේ නැති හින්දා ඒක ඕනේ නැහැ. Okay. So viruses is not an organism, so we don't consider RNA. But storing genetic information of organisms, that is done by DNA. Controlling activities of the cell. Which nucleic acid does it? Which nucleic acid does it? Alamai? It is DNA. Controlling the activities of the cell is done by DNA. Controlling the activities of the cell is done by DNA. Then protein synthesis. What does protein synthesis? RNA. Protein synthesis is done by RNA. And maintaining body temperature thamai is not a function of nucleic acids. All others are functions of nucleic acids. Okay, we'll stop there. I have to get ready for another class, so we will end the class here. But ma kiwa wage, ඔගලන් actively class එකේ හරියට